Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, Chair of the Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did.
Someone once said, where your treasure goes, there also will be your heart. What kind of world do you want to invest in? Do your investments fund industries that tempt people to harm relationships? What if you could be more intentional with your money? What if your investments built content that enriched others' minds? Jason Huntley, CFP, has been guiding families for 30 plus years to plan, invest, and build for the next generation. Scan the QR code now to make that first step to invest.
Good evening and happy February 10th. Welcome to the right side. I'm Deb Drick. I'm the local Livingston County Chair of the Republican Party here. And we're happy that we're here. We're happy that you're here. We're happy we're here too, but we're happy that you're here. So welcome, and we're looking forward to interjecting. I say this to everybody, and I'll say it probably a couple of times tonight. If you put a comment in and I don't recognize it or bring it up and it wasn't offensive, if I don't, that means I didn't see it. I recognize every comment. It might not be right away, but it might be within a little while. So if you're putting comments there and I'm not recognizing you, you might want to go to a different, either go to YouTube or go to Livingston County Republican Party or my page or whatever, because sometimes for some reason, the platform picks a one of the says we're going to ban you this week. So prejudice thing it has. So anyway, so tonight we're going to kind of kick off a judicial watch. I have been hearing rumors about a potentially tyrannical judge that we have in Livingston County, and in 2024. Governor Whitmer appointed Judge Susan Longsworth, and okay, fine, she ran in 25 and got elected. So now she ran in 24 and got elected. So she served a year. That's 6-year term. So she's got 5 more years. I am hearing reports all over the place that she does not have what we consider judicial temperament. Further, I'm hearing that she's not applying the law well. So I've kind of dug around a little bit. I believe, and I'll talk about this more as I dig into it, but I believe either the county or the prosecutor has sued her because of something that's going on. I'll have to figure that out. But I'm hearing more and more and more that this woman does not have a good temperament, that she's making bad decisions, not following the law. And I've heard that called in attorney circles black robe disease, which is kind of anyway, that's what some of the judges get. So we are having said that, I have watch the commission meetings. And with me is a former commissioner, Steve Williams from Marion Township. Welcome, Steve, and thanks, Steve, for coming. He has been coming to commission meetings and reporting kind of his experience with Judge Longsworth, which has gone on and on and on. So I think as we're starting to look at, part of our strategic plan was to watch judicial candidates and start looking at if we're having judges legislate from the bench or acting inappropriately in any way, that rather than wait till it gets disastrous, that's already happened once in this community, we don't want to do that again. Rather than wait till it gets so bad that it just blows up and puts egg on everybody's face, we're going to watch it. The other thing is that they are nonpartisan races, so a lot of times you don't realize who the conservative is. So we're getting involved. We're going to let everybody know who the conservative candidates are. And we'll get into that at 8 o'clock when we bring in our second guest. But for right now, I want Steve, for those of you who haven't seen the commission meetings where Steve talks about his experience, he's here to talk about that. So Steve, please tell, first of all, start off with kind of your bio. What's your personal bio? Like, where did you grow up? Where'd you go to school,
etc.? I grew up right here in Livingston County. I am a proud Pinckney Pirate graduate, as are my 4 siblings, and my daughters all went to Pinckney, and I went to Michigan Tech for my college experience, and I had some others as well. But yeah, I grew up right here. This is my community. This is where my family is, and this is where I'm raised, and this is where I'm invested. I did join the Army, and I spent 28 years, both active and reserve time, as an Army officer, retired as a lieutenant colonel. And when I was back here, I did run for the Board of Commissioners. My first race was for the state board of or state House of Representatives in 2000. Did not win that race. Later on, Dave Reeder talked to me about running for the county Board of Commissioners, and I thought, well, that's kind of lower level, but I ran, and I never regretted it. We have an amazing slate of elected officials here. We have a lot of people that are hardworking that you never hear about otherwise. And I learned a lot, and I fully admit it. I thought I knew everything there was to know about Livingston County, and I was humbled by my experience on the county board. I also spent 6 years as Livingston County's representative, the commissioner on the Metro Parks Board, and I served 6 years on the Michigan Association of Counties Workers' Compensation Board. So that is my public service. I spent 1 year, I was recalled to active duty after 9/11. When I came back, I worked at the state senate as a legislative assistant for a year, then voluntarily went back on active duty. So I have deep roots here. As I've been speaking out about what I see happening in the Brighton courtroom, I've had lots of people reach out to me. One today, somebody I graduated with, and she said that her family is going through the same thing. And I can't remain silent anymore. I'm not an elected official. I do still work full time, but I care about this community. You heard Sheriff Murphy talk about how we're one of the safest, and I think the prosecutor as well, Carolyn Henry. And we're one of the safest counties. It was that way during my 12 years here. We were always very proud of that. And I see a judicial focus that is reducing that. I see that creeping into, instead of being focused on the law, enforcing the law, protecting our residents, is going in the opposite direction.
Okay, well, talk about your, and we're talking about Judge Susan Longsworth at this point. Kind of give us the story. What happened? Why are you in front of her? Or, why is your family in front of her? And kind of walk us through the nightmare that you are still in the middle of.
Sure, absolutely. I do want to mention I was a politician. I'm not an attorney, but I have spent time in the courtrooms. I've been there as a witness, and during my time here since I turned 18, I was called for jury duty 6 different times. Not all those trials went through, but I have had exposure to judges and to attorneys, and I have never seen anything going on like I've witnessed in the Brighton courtroom from the very beginning. And I am not a participant. I am not a party. My wife is subject to the court because of her minor child, her son, and the case was originally in Macomb County. So there were 2 circuit court judges there because of retirement. And then we moved to Livingston County. We originally had Judge McGivney, and he became elevated to become the chief judge after Judge Hattie retired. And that's how we ended up with Susan Longsworth. So the point being that there are 3 judges that already had dealt with this case.
Okay.
And Longsworth stands out as the one that, instead of trying to enforce the laws that are in place, the rules that are there, the things that were agreed to in the judgment of divorce and subsequent rulings, she just wants to make her own path. She wants to rewrite the law. She wants to, she throws everything in disarray. She is not holding the violator accountable for his actions.
Okay, you're kind of way ahead down the line here. Let's start from the beginning. What is the case about? Talk about the case. As much as you can. It's not a
divorce case. The divorce happened over 6 years ago.
All right, so there's a divorce.
All about child custody.
Custody,
it's all about family. And I myself was divorced in 2008, right? So I've gone through the system. I had 3 daughters that were all teenagers at the time. So I have some exposure, but I never saw anything like this. I never saw... I was called to the stand as a witness in the personal protection order petition that my wife submitted. I was berated. I was told that I was being untruthful. And this initial thing revolved around the fact my stepson calls me Big Dad. Now, those of you that know me recognize I'm 6'8". I duck through doorways. His biological father is 5'10", so he has no reason to feel like he's being denigrated. But I met my stepson when he was 1.5 years old.
Okay.
This is how children identify.
Sure.
Those of you that grew up with me realize and remember that I had nicknames starting like in 3rd grade at Pinckney Elementary.
Okay.
And my nicknames through wherever I go, when I was in college, when I was working in the oil fields, when I was in the Army, they tend to revolve around height. And these are adults, right? Okay. So this judge somehow condemning me because my stepson calls me Big Dad.
Why did you go into court? Was it let's start there. Like, you were in court because
my wife's ex-husband refuses to follow court orders.
Okay, what court order did he refuse that brought you into court in the first place with Longsworth?
Well, one, he's constantly behind in his child support, but that's not what we're about. That is, and we've said that. He has kidnapped a child multiple times, which I know the police don't consider kidnapping because he does have custody assigned. He's taken him out of town. He's been involved in multiple injury accidents in vehicles, taken him to the hospital. My wife has never been able to find out where it happened so she could get the medical records. There's a provision in the judgment of divorce, which I thought was a little over the top, that says that each parent can talk to the child on a day that they don't have any custody. Now, after my divorce, I was able to talk to my daughters every day.
Sure.
Right? And obviously there was a divorce, so not everybody's happy, but that was never something we considered. And yet, even though it was a consent judgment of divorce, this individual has been constantly preventing my stepson from talking to his mom, even when it's multiple days in a row. My stepson's birthday was Sunday. He was not allowed to talk to his mom on a Sunday.
Oh, man.
And this is part of the change that Judge Longsworth has implemented, because the judgment of divorce said on the child's birthday, the parent that doesn't have custody will exchange for 4 hours, and so the other parent can spend time with the child. A year ago, that's what happened, and he never showed up. We had a part of the exchange location is in Novi at the police station, because the birth father lives in Sterling Heights. It's halfway point approximately. And we had a party scheduled for the boy. And he was the only one that didn't show up. The father refused to cooperate, refused to do that. And then Judge Longsworth, instead of enforcing the law, said, well, we're going to change the rules. Now, I do need to mention that of these 4 judges, she came up with the idea last spring to saddle us with what's called a lawyer guardian ad litem for the child, which people will recognize is fairly rare. This is not a disabled child. This is not a parentless child or anything like that. This is an attorney. I would recommend, if you're ever involved in this, look very carefully at the paperwork, because there are no limits. There are no limits on the spending. She can't be sued, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She's supposed to represent the child. The parents are supposed to split the bills.
This is the guardian.
Right.
Okay.
Attorney Melanie Schwarza
Okay.
from Dexter.
Okay.
Lawyer guardian ad litem.
Okay.
She's been running up a bill $2,000 a month, $1,000 for each party. She's spoken to the child twice in 7 months, once in May,
Wow.
once before Christmas. And it's easy to find that guardian ad litem handbook that's produced by the Supreme Court Administrative Office online. The priority is supposed to be communication with the child. My wife's always made them available. That is not the issue. So it was failure to follow custody, failure to follow the terms of the agreement,
Okay.
failure to, I've been providing his health and medical and dental insurance for several years now because the birth father took him off the insurance during the status quo period before they were even divorced. Not even telling the mother. She had to take the boy to the emergency room after a visit to his father's house, and that's when she found out there was no more medical insurance.
Wow.
So, I don't know. You don't want to sit and listen to this all hour, but there's a very long list of
so
reasons.
we've got a man that doesn't fulfill his, just does what he wants to do, doesn't follow his requirements. He takes the child and doesn't give any information to the mom of where he is, including any health issues. You had mentioned Heather filed for a PPO. You can't do that unless there's a threat somewhere. So where did the threat take place?
Sure, the threat takes place because he used to try and intimidate my wife. This is before we ever met. I mean, she would take the child as a baby, as a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, to put him in the car seat, and her ex would block her in against the truck, between the open truck door and the vehicle. Now, he always carries a phone. It's always facing out because he's trying to get her to hit him. So he has it on video. Right. He's a malignant narcissist. And no, I am not a psychologist, but I am a counterterrorism expert certified by the U.S. Army, the Defense Intelligence Agency, etc. And I brought this up to Judge Longsworth as I was testifying, and she just had a fit. She said, "You are not going to testify as an expert. You're not." She took affront to the idea that I would define him as an indigenous domestic terrorist.
Oh my goodness.
Which he is. Now, this PPO hearing took 3 hearing days. Instead of it just being done in a couple hours, 3 hearing days. I was called to the stand every time. She asked me on 2 different occasions if I've ever been court-martialed, which, of course, it'd be kind of hard to retire as lieutenant colonel if you've been court-martialed.
You think?
She starts every day by telling people to speak up so that she can hear, because it's noisy in that courtroom and there are fans running.
Mm-hmm.
She pays no attention to the people who pay her salary who are sitting there. We have sat through a lot of other hearings because she makes us wait till last.
Oh,
and I saw a gentleman sitting in front of me turn to his attorney and say, "Well, that's good because I'm hard of hearing." She never mentioned it. At one point, she said I interrupted her, which I didn't. But she talks about the hearing issue. I'm a 70% disabled veteran, right? Service-connected disability certified by the VA. Part of that is hearing loss. So yeah, absolutely. But her focus is on herself and on her own needs, not on the people that are in the courtroom. And remember, this is family court. My wife has done nothing wrong. She has broken no laws to be subject to the court. The child.
Does she follow 100% the child support or the child ruling, the court orders?
Most of the time. There have been other times. After one of the big crashes, after we were married and consolidated farms in Livingston County, the exchange location was changed to Novi. Several exchanges took place, and then he stopped coming and saying, "Well, the court order didn't change, so I want you to come back to the New Haven substation."
Oh my.
Meaning we would have had to drive past his house in Roseville. And the chief referee in Macomb County had stated, "I'm not going to make that child spend 2 hours in a car." That's why we first went to Wixom. It was exactly halfway, but Wixom's a smaller department. Novi has cameras. They have people at the desk.
Sure.
The rules, the JOD and subsequent rulings say he's supposed to go inside the police station if it's open to exchange, and he's always refused to do that because he knows that they will record what he says. My wife had a friend from college and her husband accompany her to exchanges before we ever met.
Okay.
before we ever met, the police were involved. They saw videos. They told her, ask for a civil standby. It's in the police report. And so for the rest of the time that we exchanged in Macomb County, there was a police officer, one or two present. And that was their recommendation.
Okay.
And the judge totally ignored this history. She doesn't want to watch any video. She doesn't want to hear any proof. She wants to make up her own mind and decide that she's the smartest person in the room, and those other three judges were wrong when they implemented things.
Oh, my.
So to answer your question, Deb, when he stopped coming to Novi, the reason was he had wrecked his truck.
Okay.
And we had friends that drove by the house, and it was smashed so badly, he replaced the bed, he replaced the quarter panel, the blah, blah. The child was in the vehicle with him.
Mm.
Okay.
So did he refused to go to Novi? Did that go in front of Longsworth?
No, this predated Longsworth.
Okay.
You asked me if she ever violated any of the terms.
Okay, all right. I guess I meant since Longsworth. Okay, let's start there.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And the thing is that this judge, this lawyer guardian ad litem, Attorney Schwarza, has stood in front of the judge and said, well, both parties have claims of parenting time violations. That's absolutely not true. And the Livingston County friend of the court verified that. He has not made a single claim of a parenting time violation in the entire time the case has been in Livingston County, which is about 2.5 years now. He's not, much less been awarded any parenting time. My wife has parenting time reward after parenting time after parenting time. Last year alone, I told you that he missed his birthday.
Right.
The birth father kept him for Easter, kept him for another holiday, kept him for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the thing is that this lawyer guardian ad litem, when she changed the rules and said, well, the child just doesn't have to exchange anymore on the birthday, but we're going to exchange on Halloween for 4 hours. Well, you know, as conservative Christians, a birthday is much more important to us than Halloween and what it celebrates. And yet, this is just arbitrary. This is somebody who's running up her own bill, which is limitless, by making superficial changes and not holding the person to the laws that already existed. When Judge McGivney had this case and the birth father failed to show up for a hearing, they got him on the phone. The judge said, if you don't take care of this, I'm sending somebody to pick you up. It was taken care of that day.
Okay.
This is what I worry about in Livingston County, because when I went through divorce, they were on the phone to my work. They were checking it. They didn't find anything. I never missed a payment. I was still on voluntary active duty.
Mm-hmm.
The investigations do not happen anymore. And
or maybe they just don't happen with her.
Well, you know, and the thing is, where the rules state that if somebody misses 2 payments and things like that, they can pull their driver's license. You remember what happened in Washtenaw County, what a debacle that was. That shows. And I have talked to a friend of the court, and they said, well, if we do that, how would he get to work? That's not the case.
No,
because Judge McGivney proved that. It's not that he doesn't have the money. So they did have to do the mandatory 3-year income review starting in the fall of 2023.
Okay.
It took 2 years for an income review. I went through those myself. It usually takes 2 months.
Maybe at most, yes.
He kept putting it off. Appealed. Judge Longsworth finally ruled she had 2 hearings on it instead of just agreeing with her own referee who had already spent 1.5 years investigating. And then in her ruling, she echoed her referee's assessment, where he said, look, this guy gave 2 different tax returns for 2 different years, and they're wildly different by tens of thousands of dollars.
One to give the proof and one to get the refund.
Well, the only reason that we got the ones that we think are true is because our attorney subpoenaed his accountants. He's had 4 accountants in this 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's had 6 addresses in this 6 years. There's a lot of disingenuous, just flat out lying and hiding income.
Mm-hmm.
The judge disallowed a lot of different claims that he made for tax deductions and things to try and lower his income. So she's seen it, she's recognized the lying that's going on, but she will not enforce that. For some reason, and I've seen this in other cases, she picks sides.
Yeah, we've had that before in family. Yeah, Judge
Garagiola
Garagiola used to do that. I don't know if you remember that. Judge Garagiola had the reputation of always No matter what, she sided with the mother. Didn't matter what the situation was, it was the mother. And it wasn't until, do you remember the little 3-year-old boy that was beaten, Dominic,
Yes.
that was beaten to death?
Yeah.
I still feel sick. I still choke up when I think of that. The grandmother had asked for custody
Right.
because she said, my daughter is sick. She's with a violent man. I need my grandchildren. She sided with the mother. The little boy died. Right about then, that was the end of her career. That's why she didn't
So
run
Judge
again.
Gargiulo is my judge for
Okay.
because
Okay.
David Reeder recused himself for obviously
Right,
reasons,
right.
and it wasn't anything. Now we saw her for a few minutes at the beginning, a few minutes at the
Right.
end. There was nothing.
But you
nothing
kind of
like
agreed to
this.
things and front of the
Sure.
court handled, yeah, right.
And I later worked with people who had worked with the mother of that
Right.
child. And they said they knew there were problems.
Oh, yeah.
When they found out that it happened, they were not surprised at all. And the court ignored it. And Judge Gargiulo was the one who had a man
I know,
picketing
I
because she
know.
took away his child when the mom
I know.
abandoned and went off to Iowa. And she awarded the child to the mom,
I know.
even though the 4 experts said no, she should
Right.
stay with her daughter, and the child wanted to go with the daughter.
So I guess that's a good pattern of, or a good prequel, I guess, for what can happen when a judge doesn't follow the law or doesn't follow the facts in the case. It just makes up her mind. So one of the things I guess I wanted, because this is it's such a complicated thing and goes back years and everything. So just to kind of not summarize it to close it off, but to help us get a starting point, can you kind of itemize in your brain, not like what he's done, but
Right.
how is itemize the instances that Judge Longsworth, in your opinion, has totally just blew it or totally made a bad mistake, whether or not she was rude, whether she didn't listen, whether she ignored a fact. What would those wrongs, I guess, be?
So the basis for a lot of these errors is that she does not prepare. She complains every time we're in court. She complains about the size of the file. She actually puts the files on display now because it's about 1.5 feet of paper, but she hasn't read it. She told us during the first 2 PPO hearings that she had read the file. I have read the file. I'm going to make changes. The 3rd hearing, she said, I haven't had time to read the file. The fact is, she did not look at the background. She's just picking up things based on the lies she's being told by the birth father. She mixes things up. She put into an order that nobody can video at the school. Well, we don't video at the school. It was the birth father. She heard testimony that if my wife was there because I was at work and he would, because she would go in, he brings the child without any gloves or pants or lunch or backpack. He's been at the school in Pinckney for 2-3 years now. Guy's never bought him a backpack, and he will steal our equipment. So my wife has to go get it before my stepson changes places, right? So this guy chased after her. He's yelling. She had to hide in the girls' restroom in the school. And yet the judge penalizes my wife and later says, criticizes her for video. And we have never videoed. The only video she ever saw from us was when I went and accompanied her. I was in an adjacent lot, and I had a dash cam because I drive 130 miles a day.
Sure.
And so I have a dash cam, and it captured him dropping the boy off and then zooming around the side of the school to try and run my wife down. Now, I didn't get that portion because I wasn't videotaping the school. I was videotaping the front of my truck. And the judge took exception to that. And I've heard that from other people. That she tells them she does not want them videoed. She does not. And they said, this is evidence. I need to be able to protect myself.
You can't say not to video.
Oh.
I mean, you can say not to video a child without, their parents' permission, but you can't say don't video.
Well,
not a public street, anyway.
And in addition, she heard testimony. He goes in there, and if my wife takes a child out or does, you have to sign a child out or in. He takes pictures of the sign in and sign out sheet on the secretary's desk. So that means he's got all of those children, all their personal records, who signed them in and out, just to try and catch my wife doing something wrong, which he hasn't. That's what he does. Privacy. That's what he does. The judge used privacy as a rationale to not videotape anywhere. but yet he's violating the other students' privacy and the parents' privacy.
Does she know he's doing that?
There was testimony provided.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I don't think she reads throughout. I'm very good at documentation. I was an intelligence analyst, right? I'm a technical writer. That is my degree from Michigan Tech.
Right.
We document, we put things together. I know this case better than any of the attorneys, the judge, or either party.
Right.
We provide the information. If she doesn't read it, I don't really know what else I can do to help.
Okay, well, we got a comment here that backs that up. Hannah Suds. Judge Longsworth criticized me for videoing at my son's soccer game, which took place at a public park. Hannah, I'm sorry that happened to you. If you got issues, you are welcome to come on the podcast as well. So just hold on to that thought. And I mean, you're welcome to put any questions or comments on here, but you are, I just want to throw that out there. Anybody watching, anybody that knows somebody that's had trouble, I mean, egregious trouble. I don't mean she ruled against me and I lost, okay, well, that happens. But is it egregious? Is it inappropriate? Is it too far? Is it lopsided? Is my husband okay or my wife okay with videoing my son, but I can't? Is it that kind of thing? That's what we need to know, because we're going to start calling that out. We've had trouble with judges before. Nobody called it out, or at least not on a regular basis. Those days are gone. Here we have Hannah again. She also banned recording child exchanges as my children were being assaulted during the exchanges. Yow! So so that kind of stuff. That's what we need to know. We need to talk about that. So anyway, so she's not reading the case. You're saying she's not organized. She can't apply the law right unless she's probably mixing up.
Now, one of the things that you find as you go through family court is a lot of times there may be more than one issue. Attorneys will tell you focus on this or that. There's a standard term. This is not before the court today.
Right.
So basically, if you're in there, you're talking about support, or you're talking about one item or another. Judge Longsworth just pulls things out of thin air. I mean, with Google, such as it's in a court order that we are to tell my stepson that he can't call me Big Dad. Now, this is in my own house, right? And that there's supposed to be some additional, some other term for it. And that we have to come up with something. Now, the boy is 7. He just turned 8. He's been doing this since he was a year and a half. The law states specifically a judge cannot order a step-parent, can't order what a child calls a step-parent. And the scale guidance says, let a child decide. If a step-parent is comfortable being called mom or dad or whatever, because sometimes that's complicated because they have their own. If they're comfortable, let that child choose the name.
Sure.
Because they have so little control over the rest of their life.
That's right.
And in the PPO trial, it had nothing to do with nicknames. And she ignored the other portion, and she ignored the part about the stolen livestock. And that is specific in that PPO petition.
Stolen livestock?
It talks about dogs.
This is where I'm telling you. If you told me before, you would forget now. Go ahead.
So during the time, and the dogs happened before I met my wife, and the horse was after we met. But he stole. My wife has a licensed kennel, golden retrievers. This is her. She's raised for 20 years, right? We built out at my farm and everything. And this is her business.
Okay.
He stole 2 adult goldens and 1 4-week-old puppy with the mom.
And you know this for a fact?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I trust my wife on this, but I've also read the police reports.
Okay.
Right?
So there was that.
And I've talked to other witnesses.
Okay.
So it's illegal under Michigan law to take a puppy away from his mom before it's 8 weeks old because they don't survive. Sure. And instead, he helped steal a dog and a 4-week puppy and left the other 9 to die. They didn't all die, but at any rate, later he stole a dog who was pregnant, falsified my wife's signature to register them with AKC. 13, a litter of 13. And this judge complains that my wife doesn't make enough money, even though she's gone through multiple support reviews, and our attorney pointed this out just last week. She's gone through multiple support reviews. Nobody ever said that she didn't make enough or encouraged her to make more. We were in the judge's courtroom, and this gal, Attorney Schwarza, grilled her on what her degree was in, and she said she's got a missionary degree from Maranatha Baptist University well, first she said she had a degree from Maranatha Baptist University in Wisconsin. Then he said, well, can't you make more money with that? My wife pointed out it's a missionary degree. Missionaries.
They're not known for mink coats and diamonds,
She has a business. It's a full business. The farm where I grew up is as busier than it ever was.
So he stole from her
dogs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, the 2 dogs, one of whom was pregnant, and then she only had 6 breeding females. So that means he stole 1/3 of her revenue producing stock.
Okay.
And then he stole the horse. And that was when, after we had met, I would accompany her to custody exchanges at the police department. While we were gone, the horse disappeared. That was on July 30th. That was after the final divorce, judgment of divorce, which clearly gave her ownership of all the horses, horse equipment, dogs, dog
Was this
equipment.
in front of Longsworth at the time, or was
No,
that
this was
McGivney
long
still?
before.
Oh, this before. Okay.
But the fact is that Longsworth criticized her, failed to grant the PPO, and said that she was making things up, and said that because my wife interpreted a picture of the one stolen dog and the shadow as one way, that was grounds for a psychological evaluation, which she named the psychologist, who charges $2,500 and does not accept insurance. Now, they had been appointed that twice in Macomb County, both parties had been told they had to have a psychological evaluation. My wife participated, went, did the evaluations, but it wasn't complete because the other party didn't participate. And that one is already partly paid for. And instead, the judge says, well, you need to start over with somebody that the gal picked for $2,500.
And there's no relief from this. I mean, you have. Oh
they
my
want
gosh!
to send her to jail. The last time we were in there,
Judge
Longsworth told my wife that she could send her to jail for not complying with her court order. Our attorney pointed out that it has to either be intentional. It has to be intentional. It can't.
There has to be a criminal act.
Right. They had my wife. They didn't have to ask my wife for our tax returns. They had them going back. The guardian ad litem over Christmas made us produce 40 different documents, including utility bills and everything else, to show our income and expenses.
Have they also produced that for him?
No. And the thing is that the claim is, well, because you don't just have to look at the party's income, you can look at household income. That's why they want to come for my income. And I generate 75% of the income. I've been working a long time.
Yes.
The other party lives in a house in Sterling Heights with 5 other unrelated adults. His live-in girlfriend's 2 adult daughters, live-in girlfriend's sister's 2 adult daughters and adult son. They are not counting anybody else's income. Oh, and by the way, the judge is insinuating to my wife that she will change the custody arrangements. My wife has more than 50% right now, but it's close. Oh my gosh. And twice during the time it has been assigned to Judge Longsworth, he moved. I told you 6 addresses in 6 years. He moves. He will not tell my wife where they moved to. And right in the front of the court handbook, it specifically says that you have to tell them promptly. And in the judgment of divorce, it says, so it went a month each time. The last time was right around Labor Day 2025, which was an odd time to move. So I ran a check. Sure enough, he was evicted from the last house, and there's a default judgment against him for $10,150 for non-payment of rent.
Oh, wow.
And yet, this is the person that the judge is threatening to give more custody time if my wife doesn't pay up her friend, the gal, Attorney Schwarza, right, who is charging $2,000 a month and never meeting with the child, and that has not come up with
Is the other party paid their $1,000?
So you talk about bias. When we went in the same hearing on, I don't even remember the day now, but it was a week ago, and she's threatening to show my wife in jail. The gal said that both parties were behind. The judge has seen the documentation showing that even if she believes his figures, he still makes 2.5 times what my wife does, and she recognizes that he's falsifying it. He's behind as well. She's not threatening to throw him in jail, and he's behind $6,000 in child support. Our attorney stated, he said, look, when my client receives child support, she makes a payment to the gal. The child support was as much as is due the gal. And the judge refuses to consider that. If you look at any of these things, the SMILE program in Livingston County, front of the court handbook, everything says child support comes first.
Right.
I had to sit through the program, and they said, well, some people say I have a second family now. Don't I have to take care of my second family? And the judge says, yes, but your primary responsibility is your court-ordered child support.
Right.
And this judge is throwing that out the window.
So I'm going to ask the question that everybody's thinking right now.
Sure.
Why has this not been appealed to Judge McGivney? I cannot believe that you can't appeal this to the chief judge.
So, as it happens,
okay,
there are two paths. Paths.
Okay.
You can appeal decisions, which of course costs a lot more money,
sure,
or you can ask to have the judge recused based on bias.
Okay.
And most of the details they talk about, having found out that the judge was in a personal business relationship with someone on one side or the other, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But also bias is there. Attorneys don't want to do this. Attorneys do not want to anger the judge. Somebody else contacted us, and this is somebody that I knew. She's around my daughter's age, and she was saddled with a PPO by the judge. She couldn't find anybody to represent her in the PPO hearing. We can't find anybody who will file the motion for the judge to be recused. So my wife did it.
Yeah, Hannah was just saying her
pages,
case was pulled from her. So
16 pages of documentation, or 16 pages of different categories of bias, followed by approximately 50 pages of documentation. Remember, all this has been before the judge before. So you're just putting it in a nice little packet of about 65
Makes it
pages.
easy to read, yeah.
My wife has to represent herself pro
Yee.
bono
Yee.
in front of the judge who hates us. So,
well,
and it's because it is so hard to defeat an incumbent judge. Remember, this judge was gifted this position.
Yep.
She'd never been a magistrate.
No.
She'd worked for a while in the prosecutor's office in Washtenaw County. Remember, that's the office where they did away with cash bail, so that people just get to roam the streets free instead of having some reason to bring them back in the court when they're scheduled.
Sure.
Then she was in private practice. Then she was granted a gifted disposition, and because when they appear on the ballot, the judges are the only candidate that has an I for incumbent next to their name.
Sure.
No one challenged.
That
Otherwise,
should
it's an
that
open
should
seat.
change.
As you pointed out, this seat is open. Judge Geddes' seat is open. You're going to have 4 to 6 candidates because it's an open seat. It's a free-for-all. No one challenged Judge Longsworth, and she had spent
I tried.
5 months in the position,
I
but
know.
it's just hard to do.
Yeah, it could have been done. It could have been done because there was such an anti-Whitmer thing. No, we would have had that done. I just I couldn't get a candidate. So anyway, so it sounds like she's making it up as she goes along, that if she likes somebody or doesn't like somebody, that creates a filter in front of her, so information gets tainted or enhanced by the filter, sweetened or soured by the filter, depending on the filter she has.
Right.
It sounds like her notion of the law is whatever I feel like it is.
Sure.
If she doesn't, it sounds like she does not recognize court or prior court orders or recommendations from front of the courts, magistrates, anything else. It sounds like, from what you're saying, and I don't have proof of this, it sounds like she put a guardian on the child when it wasn't needed, and is throwing money. I mean, to me, is that a friend of hers? I mean, have you been able to?
I have tried to research this.
Okay.
Now, ironically, the friend has researched us, and the friend, or the gal, the attorney Schwartz, said in court the other day, she complained that my wife has filed a complaint against her with the Attorney Grievance Commission, and that my wife is making comments about her on social media. I'm pretty sure that the judge and the gal are not supposed to be out searching for things like this. So what's happening is that the biological father is telling her different things. She's having extracurricular conversations. And actually, the bio father didn't show up to the hearing last week. And the judge was not happy about that. It was the gal's hearing to hold my wife in contempt, but we waited for him. Oh, and by the way, she let the biofather call in. They got in touch with him by phone.
Okay.
He insisted that he didn't really know. He thought it was postponed. the L gal and our attorney, our attorney said, well,
Mm-hmm.
this is the one point we can agree on. It was not postponed. Nobody gave him the indication. And the judge said, so drive in here. How long will it take you? He said, 45 minutes. She said, turn the camera off on your phone so you can listen to the proceedings. Now remember, this is the guy that's got hours and hours and hours of videotape of my wife. This is a courtroom where you walk in, it says no recording, no video,
Right.
no
Yep,
audio
they
recording.
did that a while ago, yeah.
And she gave it away to a guy who could have recorded that whole time, the 45 minutes that he was in the car. And I have no doubt that he did record it. So she's
Wow.
violating the chief judge's court rules, which I disagree with. I think people should have access to video recordings of their own trials, right? I think that was a mistake. I argued that as a county commissioner.
Oh, do you know why that happened?
Yes, I do.
You
And I
okay?
believe that the Teresa Brennan debacle would have never happened if people could see what was taking place.
Well,
in
they
courtroom.
did. Those things were being passed around, and they decided at the time they didn't like it, so they
Yeah.
took it away.
Well, I think
You're
in
right.
this
It
time-
was a
Because here's
bad
the
move.
thing: if you want a recording of your trial, you have to pay for a transcript.
Right.
So the last day of the 3-day trial, this is the day when when the judge threatened me with contempt of court because she didn't like my answers and things. This is Good Friday of last year. We paid for a transcript, $550 for a transcript,
Oh, yeah.
which does not include tone or
Yes, you're
intonation
right. You're right.
or anything like that, right?
I remember the tape of Teresa Brennan, Judge Brennan at the time, ripping into Chrissy Heikkinen, and it was absolutely over the top, nasty, threatening. I mean, it was not a. I mean, I have been around Teresa many times, and I've never seen that to her. And interestingly enough, as often as Jay and Teresa butted heads, she never treated him badly either. She was always extremely polite to him and nice. But holy cow, this was just over the top, belligerent, and just I mean, it was like, how dare you? I mean, it was like Teresa broke a rule, and I think it was they were in a case. They were off the record at the time. Teresa started talking about the case with the other attorney. And Chrissy could hear it, and she walked up and said, "Are you discussing my case with just him? Are you asking questions without me?
Right.
And who do you think you are?" I mean, it was just, I mean, she just and Chrissy held her ground and said, "I'm just asking. You're not supposed to talk to him without me. You're not supposed to have ex parte communication
Right,
on this.
right.
It's supposed to be both of us." Well, how dare, I mean, she went after her, and I mean, just basically humiliated her in front of there, but it got taped.
And the thing is, Teresa and I ran for, different positions the same year, right? And I was a commissioner. She was a judge, I think, for most of that time. We're not friends, but I don't have those kind of stories. But if that happens, that is not right. And it's not right to sit silent
And people
and
did,
stay by.
it had happened a lot, and people complained, but nobody did anything. So
Right.
anyway, in this particular case, I feel like people have a right to know. And, I don't know what can come out of this. I don't know if anything can or should come out of my investigation, but I'm going to start paying attention. So anybody looking, if you had Judge Longsworth and you can come up and sit in that seat where Steve is and say, this is what she did. But specifically, not that she disagreed with you, but I mean, I think Hannah here was talking about criticizing for video, or well, no, that's not the one. This is the one. Banned recording child exchanges as her children were being assaulted during the exchanges. How can you ban that? That's evidence. So
Right. And remember, in our case, the judges from the beginning, and his attorney wrote this judgment of divorce. So there's a lot of goofy stuff we have never, we don't need to discuss. But part of that was, and it was reinforced when they changed locations, it's supposed to be inside, so there's video and camera. Novi Police Department's been very good about giving me, I just do a FOIA. They give you the thumb drive, and you pick it up a few days later. They've been great, okay? But what the Gal recommended, instead of the circular drive right in front of the officer's desk, she said go off to the side at the internet exchange locations. There's no audio, and the video is much smaller because you're further away. It's the same. So she actually is putting and then they insisted that my wife go there. They didn't want me there. They banned me from being there. So remember, for 5 years, I was taking my stepson from the vehicle and taking him over or picking him up. There is not a single incident, police report, nothing that shows that I ever did anything wrong. And yet, this judge arbitrarily said, well, no, the mother should do that.
And so just to be clear too, I got the impression, although it wasn't specifically said, this judge told your wife that your stepson is not allowed to call you Big Daddy or whatever he calls
Big Dad.
Big Dad. He's not allowed to say Big Dad to you.
Right.
That the judge has ordered this and said, no more can you do that.
And then in the same order, she said neither party can file a motion without filing a bond. In other words, you have to pay. So if you've been watching my presentations, Board of Commissioners,
I have not.
That was one of the ones that I brought in. I brought in the Livingston County Friend of the Court Handbook, and in there they give different examples of stress or whatever, differences of opinion between the parents. And it says, if this happens, file a motion. If 28 times it says file a motion, this judge took that away. Now, when you talk about shedding light on things, and
you can't charge people for filing a motion.
She, on her own, reversed herself on that portion, but she made clear all the other portions of the order are in effect. So somebody talked to her and said, this is illegal.
Okay.
So she changed that, but she would not reconsider her other poor changes, right?
So you're going in front of her again when? Or your wife
the 19th.
is? 19th. And
yeah.
that's where the wife wants to have her recuse herself, correct?
No, that is the 26th.
Okay. Oh, all right. Well, what's the 19th? What are we missing?
The 19th is because we cannot afford to pay this gal. My wife has been asking for a payment plan for 6 months, or actually since June of last year. It's
and
in writing.
I'm assuming with your detailed record brain that you have records of this. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the guardian ad litem at first denied that ever happened, and then she said, well, it wasn't really a formal request. Our attorney has requested this. Our attorney has said he offered during this last hearing, well, how about $100 every other week? Remember, she's charging $2,000 on average a month.
How often does that happen? I mean, do you have any kind of statistics on how often
the people in front of the court say it's not that it's rare.
And under what circumstances usually that's only like a handicapped child or a child that has some sort of
the judge is
mental.
pawning off her work. I think I honestly think the judge is pawning off her work to the ALGAL.
You should be able to appeal that too. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Right. Well, and we've tried. So, and when my wife filed the motion with the Attorney Grievance Commission, one of the categories is very clear, is a billing dispute. And so, and this ALGAL complained in December on the 11th, and then in January about the billing dispute, and or about the motion that was filed. It's a request for investigation. It's not a complaint. The judge ignored her. The judge will not wait for the resolution of that. Remember, we as Michigan taxpayers pay for this whole job. They're in a beautiful building. I drop off the papers myself. It's in a beautiful building in Troy. They will not wait for a resolution of this investigation. They want the money now. They want her to take the side. And the ALGAL talked about it. She complains that my wife said, well, can't I finish the psychological evaluation I started in Macomb, because that will literally be 1/10 of the cost.
Sure.
And then we said, okay, how about another psychologist that's well known to Livingston County Court? We found one. He's in Okemos. He could do it. He would have had it done. The hearing in January was the 28th. He would have had it done in time for the hearing on the 28th. The ALGAL refused to consider it. And what does he charge? $1,000. Now, remember, we're paying for the insurance for this kid. And that's not that I'm complaining.
No, I get it.
But the same ALGAL that asked my wife, well, why don't you sell one of your horses, or why don't you sell some things, do you have anything that you can sell? If she would have just Googled my marketplace account, she would have known I've been doing that. My wife responded with she said, you mean the 15-year-old blind horse? And because, of course, when the animals are older, we keep them. They're not going to a dog food factory in the middle of January.
Good.
Same with the goats, same with the dogs. And so
come around to the 19th again.
So on the 19th, that will be when the judge has threatened to put my wife in jail because we can't pay. And the analysis is there. No one has ever come back and said, oh, you lied on your tax returns. Oh, we think you inflated what your utilities are. Like everybody else, our our electric bill is shot up.
Okay.
But because for our dogs, we have heated mats, heated water buckets, heat lamp, the electric bill's gone from $200 a month to $550 during these. This is the fourth coldest winter in the last 20 years.
I got that.
Our attorney pointed that out. He said, look, you're under financial stress. Can't you do something like this? Can't you, save? No, there is no interest in that. Now, I can see where the judge might not think that $2,500 is a lot of money because she makes $172,000. Judges in Michigan, circuit and district, make $2,000 less than Congress people. Now, our congressman represents 1 million, in rough terms, 1 million people. She is one of 7 judges for a county of less than 200,000. So when I talk about this, I expect that public servants, especially the highest paid elected officials in the county,
do their own work.
To do their own work.
And to know the case.
And to not cause additional cost for the people who appear before them, and to not treat people like my wife and me as criminals when we have done nothing wrong. And yes, the chief judge can take cases away, as Hannah mentioned. He took cases away. He also took juvenile cases away from the judge. If you go back and look in August of last year, there was a whole big reorganization of the cases, and Judge McGivney signed off on that. And that took a lot of things away from Judge Longsworth. Now, if I was another judge, I'd be pretty irritated about taking on her workload. But as somebody who's being victimized by her, I would be more than happy to have that case shifted.
Yeah, if this works wrong, if this goes south, I mean, no matter what, I think that's your quick resolution. I mean, if Judge McGivney followed a certain pattern, and now this other pattern come on, Judge Longsworth, how hard is this? You've got a history with other judges. Did all of those I don't know the other judges in Livingston County. I'm sorry, outside of the county, Macomb County. I don't know those judges, but I do know that Judge McGivney, I have faith in his ability to read the law. I've always heard good things about him. I've heard he's reasonable. I've heard he knows the law, and I've heard he enforces it as is. That I've never heard anything different.
Just so this doesn't seem like a partisan attack. Okay?
No.
The first judge in Macomb County was Mark Swiltowski, who retired. His brother's still on the board. He's a Democrat. He was replaced by Terry Lynn Dennings, a black female attorney who was appointed by this same governor, right? Democrat. Judge McGivney's a Democrat.
That's right.
So
also appointed by Whitmer.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you have a mix of genders, you have a mix of races.
I get it.
This judge has decided to take it out, and I've seen her do it on other people. And at the same time, we hear all these horrible stories that judge in Shiawassee County that resulted.
Okay, yeah, we're back up. Yeah, this could be a bunny hole we get down.
Okay, they are putting children at risk.
Well, and as far as Judge Longsworth goes, like I said, I know I trust Judge McGivney's. If he said this is the pattern, this is what's happened, and she's now uprooting that would be her challenging him, and it sounds as though she is not following the law with you, where Judge McGivney did, and your outcomes were different. So
she is contradicting the rulings of the chief judge who preceded her.
I know, and that's what's wrong. So, all right, once again, if you had Judge Longsworth and you've had this trouble, Hannah, type Chair, Hannah, reach out to me if you will. I'd love to have you on the podcast, talk about your experience, talk about your opinion, but I'm looking for specifically, did she invent her own law as she went? Was she excessively rude or judgmental? Did she put up these filters of I like you, therefore therefore you're right, I don't like you, therefore you're wrong? That's my email, chair@livingstonrepublicans.com. We're going to watch this. We're going to dig into it. If it's if there's many more cases like Steve out there, we need to hold her accountable. She's there to do a job. She was appointed and then elected because nobody ran against her. But I can almost, if this goes where I think it's going to go, I can guarantee that's not going to happen again. So let's find out here. We don't need a tyrant. So apply the law. Stop getting so controlling. Just apply the law as it is. And move on. You don't need to be rude to people. We've gone through this before in Livingston County a couple of different times. And I will tell you, most of us here, we're not going to let that happen again. We did not act before, and this is blown up. My phone blows up all the time about this stuff. And so I'm finally at a point now where I'm going to address it. And that's going to be addressed as long as it needs to be addressed. So if that cleans up, this topic goes away. If it doesn't, then it's just going to keep going. So let me see here. We have Lisa. Lisa R. was talking about she was treated the same way by a woman judge in Livingston County 20 years ago. Yeah, I don't know who that was either. It wasn't Longsworth. Longsworth's been here a couple of years, but it's wrong, Mark Ashley Price, it's about time, mister. We were wondering about you, why you took so long. You're usually my first guy in the door. Steve, you know anything about the closed loop system of justice that enables the one-man grand jury? That's Curtis's mantra these days. I don't think that that's on the table right now, Curtis, although we will be talking about judges here in another couple weeks, and that is a good question to ask Christina Like when she's on here. So anyway, back to this. You have a story. You have a situation with Judge Longsworth where she's applied the law incorrectly or been inappropriate in any way. We want to know. So Steve, thanks for coming and sharing. We're going to probably get you back here as this case develops, and you can kind of update us if you would, and kind of let us know what's going on, especially if anything more crazy that happens. So we shall be back in a few minutes. We're going to go to commercial. We're going to come back with Christopher Candela, who is a candidate for judge. So see you soon. Welcome to The Right Side. And with me now is the brand new 7th District Chair, District 3, Livingston County Commissioner, Frank Sample. So welcome, Frank. You're very active in the American Legion.
Correct.
You're very active in the VFW.
This ideology is very damaging to the students who are told if you get this surgery and make do the social transition, the medical transition, then you'll be happy and all your problems will be solved. Learned so much.
I'll bet. That's some institutional knowledge right there. And we have, as a special guest, as I said earlier, we have Kevin Rinke with us. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Go Boge. Thanks, Kelly. There are no stories about. We love meeting new people.
Right, yes.
It's in good shape, so that's good news.
That safeness is not afforded to every citizen. They are special.
There's a difference between men and women. There's a biological difference, and it's time for us to stand up for our girls.
He went through, and he came back with a report said there's no way Detroit can meet its obligations on the tax base.
Yes.
So is this DEI focused just on the high school, or are they talking about all
district, the entire district?
Maybe that's kind of normal. It's really not. There tends to be little fiefdoms with different police agencies and police versus fire and fire versus EMS and blah blah blah. That's not the case here. So Livingston County is very fortunate.
Hey, not too long ago, in many of our lifetimes, Detroit was the 3rd largest city in America.
Oh yeah,
3.2 million citizens. It's been a great experience. I mean, I have no regrets about moving here.
There's an old saying that the road will get you elected, the jail will get you unelected. So, give you an idea.
You have to have a reason to change for change to be enacted.
Someone once said, "Where your treasure goes, there also will be your heart." What kind of world do you want to invest in? Do your investments fund industries that tempt people to harm relationships? What if you could be more intentional with your money? What if your investments built content that enriched others' minds? Jason Huntley, CFP, has been guiding families for 30 plus years to plan, invest, and build for the next generation. Scan the QR code now to make that first step to investing intentionally.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah,
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why? Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights.
Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, Chair of the Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did.
Someone once said, where your treasure goes.
Okay, and we're back. What a story that was. I you know how horrible that would be to have to try and do everything right and follow the rules and follow the court orders, and then just have a judge throw it out at whim and treat you like that, and just continue to impose costs and fines, and she doesn't pay something and she's got to go to jail, but the other one doesn't pay anything. It's just fine and dandy. So anyway, speaking of judges and good judges, I'm here to introduce Christopher Candela, and he is you live in Genoa Township, I believe, a Genoa Township resident here, and we have the only real conservative judge we have is Judge Geddes, and unfortunately, she is retiring at the end of this year, and so we need to, we've talked. My executive board has, at the strategic planning session, my the party faithful that show up, we've said it for the last 2 years. We really want to get involved in judges. Liberal judges can make some horrible calls, so we really want to make sure we have at least, and I'm not looking to, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying stomp out all the liberal judges. I am saying in Livingston County we've got some fairly good liberal judges, and that's just fine, but this Longsworth's horrible. It's, from what I'm hearing from everybody, I'm hearing the same story over and over and over, and you've seen a couple of the candidates, but Judge Geddes is as a voice of reason, and so we want to make sure we get another conservative voice of reason in there. When you get into the mix, when you have the judicial meetings, if you don't have a conservative voice speaking up, then the things can go awry. So welcome Christopher Candela, who is going to run for that seat. So I just want to say this, start off by introducing yourself to our listeners. So start with your personal bio. Where'd you grow up, et cetera, go to school, et cetera.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on tonight, Deb. I grew up in northern Michigan, actually. Went to graduate from Gaylord High School.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've been coming to Livingston County my whole life, though my grandparents lived here down in Pinckney. So I got a lot of great memories as a child fishing on Bass Lake down there.
Oh, wow.
I got a lot of family in the area still too. A couple of aunts, uncles, lots of cousins. So went to undergrad at Wayne State University in Detroit and majored in political science. And following that, I went over to Michigan State University where I attended law school.
Oh,
and,
green.
Yep. Yeah. So that's kind of my educational background. And
okay, so let's start professional then. From there, you went professional. What'd you do from there?
Yeah, so my first job right out of law school, I clerked for a circuit court judge in Ingham County, and she was presided over the family division there. So I handled, I did a lot of legal research, drafting opinions for her on cases involving divorce, child custody, parenting time, division of assets, and then also child abuse and neglect cases, juvenile delinquency, those sorts of things.
Okay.
After that, I went over to the Eaton County Prosecutor's Office, working for Doug Lloyd over there, and I've been there ever since. Started out in district court, very quickly moved up to handling felonies in circuit court. Really within my first year there, I was promoted up to being the appellate specialist. I've been handling cases, post-conviction appeals for quite a while now, arguing cases in the Court of Appeals and Michigan Supreme Court, as well as significant motion practice at the trial court level.
Okay. All right. So I guess that begs the question then, what you're running for judge? What start off with kind of why you? What about you will make a great judge?
Well, I think, as a prosecuting attorney and especially as one that has practiced in every level of our judicial system, I've seen our courts from every angle, from the judges' chambers all the way up to advocating in the Supreme Court, Michigan Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
And prosecutors, we're uniquely suited in that, we don't represent an individual client. We represent the people of the state of Michigan. So our job in the courtroom is not just to protect victims' rights, which is very important, but also to make sure that the defendant's constitutional rights are being protected as well, that they're getting a fair shake in the courtroom.
Sure.
And in a large part, that's a key part of judges' roles, is to make sure that all the parties, their rights are being protected, they're being heard, and they're being respected in the court.
Okay. So, and what extra qualify? I mean, why you? Why would somebody vote for you over somebody else? So you have the experience. Is there, are there other considerations? I don't know how much you overheard, but we just had a situation where temperament and making up the law as you go along become an issue here. What are your thoughts on that?
I think those are key considerations when you're considering who you're going to vote for judge. You certainly want a judge who's not going to legislate from the bench. You want a judge that's going to call balls and strikes, apply the law as written. And you want a judge who has the appropriate temperament for the bench to really stay calm, listen to the facts, apply the law consistently, so that our community has a consistent ruling of the law, creates predictability and confidence and trust in our judicial system.
Okay, so what made you want to decide to run?
Well, right after completing our education, my wife and I came back to Livingston County. We came here, bought our first home, put down our roots, and we're quite vested in the future of this community. Circuit court rulings, they don't just affect the litigants in the courtroom, they have widest effects on the rest of the community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really looking to the future of our community and having, bringing an asset to the court that will serve our community well for a number of years into the future.
Okay. All right. Well, good. How would you describe your temperament?
Well, I think I'd say firm but fair. I think it's very important to treat people in the courtroom. It's very important for judges to treat litigants with basic level of common decency and respect. Everybody deserves an opportunity to be heard and to have their voices heard in the courtroom. But also judges need to have a firm side to them to be able to control their courtroom in the event that some sort of commotion breaks out in courtrooms, things get worked up, and that happens, especially in criminal cases. Emotions can get very high.
Sure.
So I think it's a judge has to have that judicial restraint to really, control their courtroom, but also make sure that everybody who enters their courtroom feels heard, and not just understands the judge's ruling, but why the judge ruled the way they did.
Okay. Well, yeah, and that helps because even if you don't agree, at least you understand, and that helps. That helps. It just helps. Even nobody feels good about a loss, but understanding why. I mean, losing and not knowing why, that's awful. So let me ask you this then. There's, everybody hears the term about judges shouldn't legislate from the bench. What does that explain to people that might not understand that or have heard that and maybe has questions about that? Can you explain that term to everybody?
Yeah, so I think the gist of it is applying the law as written. We have separate branches of government, and it's important for judges to respect the roles of each branch. We the citizens of the state and of our county vote for the legislators that represent their views. They write laws, and it's important for the judges to follow those laws and apply those laws as they're written by our legislature. So I think legislating from the bench is when a judge takes that a step farther and starts to
put their own spin on it.
That's right. Okay. Put their own personal, they start ruling for outcomes rather than, ruling the way that the law requires you to rule.
Kind of the end justifies the means kind of situation. As long as they get they see an outcome that they want to do and they steer the law that way. Is that kind of right, or am I not doing that right?
Yeah, I think we've seen that before, and it's certainly
we heard about it earlier tonight.
There's courtrooms are not the place for personal agendas.
Okay.
Litigants in front of the court, especially attorneys, they know the law. They're trained in the law. They know the law. And when the law is applied the law is cited but not applied to the facts the way it should be, it creates perverse outcomes that really do not benefit the litigants or our community, because judicial rulings can create precedents, especially as they go up on appeal into the higher courts.
Sure. Yes, and you spent a lot of time working with appeals, so you'd be able to talk to that, I would imagine, better than many.
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time arguing cases in the Court of Appeals and the Michigan Supreme Court, and that's an important skill to have when you're dealing with a case in the appeals court. You have to consider not just whether you can make an argument, but what's the long-term effects of that argument if it was to be accepted or adopted into law for your county, for the citizens of the entire state of Michigan, because just because an argument can be made does not necessarily mean that it's the best argument for the people. And if that gets put into law as precedent, that can have bad outcomes down the road. So it takes a lot of thought, a lot of looking at policy and considering your perspective and considering how things are going to play out down the road as well when you're arguing cases on the appellate level.
Well, we have a viewer here that has a different spin on that. In Curtis's opinion, the judge has an opinion, and then the legislature creates legislation that aligns with that decision or opinion. I guess that's never how I've seen it, but I could be wrong. What do you think?
Well, I think there are instances where that does happen. I think a good example of that would be when our Supreme Courts, both the United States Supreme Court and the Michigan Supreme Court, ruled on juvenile life laws, and that resulted in our legislation creating law that regulated how minors would be sentenced, and what those hearings would look like when they commit crimes that had previously carried a mandatory life without parole sentence.
Okay. Curtis, were you referring to, when you said the judge, I guess I was looking more for a circuit court judge or something, but were you talking about an appellate judge? Was that your statement? So give me a thumbs up or down or a yes or no on that. So yes, I guess I was looking at a local judge, and having worked in the legislature with many different avenues, I've never ever had one find a judge and say, well, they ruled that way or has an opinion, let's go do this. So I could be wrong.
Well, I think that's a very fair point, Deb. At the trial court level, you're applying the laws the legislature writes it. You're not writing precedent.
Right.
You're kind of the frontline trial court level.
Sure.
So in that regard, yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Okay. So, but from the Supreme Court, that does it a little backwards then.
Yeah, that can have that effect.
Okay. Well, I have experience and knowledge of the local courts and what they primarily can and cannot do, but my buck stops at the local. It never goes to the Supreme. So I shall take your word for it. All right. So what else should we know about you?
Well, when I'm not practicing law, I'm typically outdoors doing something. I'm woodworking, I'm fishing, I'm up north, like during November, I'm probably out hunting.
Okay.
So I love to get outdoors and enjoy what the state of Michigan has to offer. And even here in Livingston County, we have some great state land and parks in the area.
So do you follow the Michigan Supreme Court decision resulted in Article 7, Section 7, as if it didn't exist? I don't know what that means. You know what that means?
I think I would need more detail.
Okay, yeah. That was kind of a pull it out of my ear statement there. Curtis, that doesn't have any context to it, so sorry. Anyway, but we have, so do you, what requirements, that's the question I wanted to ask. Curtis threw me off here. What requirements are there to become a judge in Michigan?
The statutory requirements are pretty straightforward. You have to have been licensed for 5 years.
Okay.
You have to be in
check.
Good standing with the state bar, and you have to be under the age of 72.
Okay.
So that's really
check and check, right?
Yeah, those are the statutory requirements. I think the requirements for being a good judge are much more than that.
Well, why don't you? Okay, so go ahead. What are the requirements to be a good judge?
Well, you have to you have to know the law. That's pretty obvious. But you have to understand the role of being a judge and how that plays out and affects the people in your community. Because as a circuit court judge, you really are there for the people and the people who are frequenting your courtroom. But I think also you have to look at you have to be mindful of things like what our specialty courts do. In the sense of we have people who come into the criminal justice system because they have an addiction. They're struggling with addiction. They're struggling with mental illness. There's veterans treatment courts for people who unfortunately come into the system due to PTSD. And really having that understanding of the people that you serve and how sometimes people commit crimes and they're habitual offenders and they have to be held accountable. And other times you see people who they come into the system because of an addiction or because of that mental illness. And I've seen them come out the other end of those specialty treatment courts, really turning their lives around and becoming productive members of society. So I think being a key part of being a good judge is not just to throw the book at people and lock them up, but to hold people accountable, but also to help them so that they can really rejoin society as a positive.
I think
productive
that's a good goal, or at least a good outcome if possible. I imagine there are just times when it isn't necessarily alcohol. It might not be the alcohol, it might be the effect, but not so much the cause. Sometimes it is the cause, and you got to be able to know the difference. Whether or not someone has no regard for rules or anything else, but it is but there are times when something it's more of a fluke, and you have to be able to know. I know that Livingston County has or had. I know at one time we had a mental health court, we had a veterans court, we had a drug court. I remember watching Judge Hattie deal with the drug court, and I remember seeing the people come in and talk and talk about what they've accomplished, and there was some pride there. I know that our jail has a kind of a school in there where people get their GED, and they have graduates while you're in jail, and I mean it's just good because it's that little bit of an investment that'll keep I think the goal is to keep them from coming back, right?
Right.
And all those tools, whether it's an education or learning to deal with addiction or learning to deal with mental illness or learning to deal with PTSD, these are good things. I mean, and it'll cost you to do that, but I'll tell you what, it costs you a whole lot more to get a repeat offender or to have somebody in jail for 20 years. So
That's exactly right, Deb. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question here. Hi, Christopher. This is from Chuckwood. I have no idea who Chuckwood is. Somebody new. Excited to hear more about your campaign. Have you ever had a positive experience with a judge during your career that may have made an impact on your decision to seek this position? Good question, Mr. Chuckwood.
Yeah, I've had, fortunately for me, the vast majority of my interactions with the judges have all been positive. The judge that I clerked for, my first job out of law school, she had been a prosecutor prior to taking the bench, and working with her and really seeing how a good, efficient courtroom runs, and how applying the law as it's written and really getting to the ruling that the law is meant to achieve can really have positive impacts on the community as a whole. So I think that was really an experience for me that has certainly motivated me to want to run for judge so that I can have those similar positive impacts on our community here in Livingston County.
Wow, great. So next one, J.K. Billman. What's your take on the value of probation following a custodial sentence?
I think probation, it's certainly a valuable resource that we have available to us to help, integrate people back into the community, especially if they've had, I guess with probation, you're talking about probably a jail term, where if you're talking prison, you're looking at parole. But probation gives us an opportunity to have oversight over individuals to make sure, there may be a no contact order in place to protect the victim, and we're having that oversight to ensure that our victims are protected going forward. You may have a condition of a tether to make sure they're not going to places that they're not supposed to be, and tethers that monitor whether or not you're consuming alcohol. Requirement may be meeting with agents to do drug screenings. All of these things I think are valuable tools to help protect our community, as well as helping that individual integrate back into society and continue to be a productive member.
Okay. I also think that, probation can help people. I mean, I know it sounds like a pain, but I think there are instances when probation, because of the guidelines, it really helps set up somebody from not, if they're following the probation, it's kind of keeping them from going astray and hurting themselves later till they get a handle on things. So, I mean, I think there's side effects for that. So here's Mark Ashley Price, who was late today. I'm not forgiving this again, Mark. You always have great guests. Yes, I do, don't I? And Madam Chair, I think you should run for the State Board of Education. Well, I'll tell you what, Mark. You come and hang out with me for 3 straight days, okay? 3 days, that's all I'm asking for you. And if you can hang out with me for 3 days, keep up with me and attend to my schedule, if you still can find time for me to run for state board, we'll talk about it. Until then, it's probably a big negaberries. So I just don't have time for that. But having said that, anybody out there that does have time, we're looking for people to do that. So anyway, run for state board. That's a good thing. But, I think that this is a nonpartisan position. This is correct. So we can talk about you being conservative or anybody else not being conservative, and it's never going to make the ballot. But it doesn't mean, I think a lot of people are confused. Christopher, and you can weigh on. Are you Christopher or Chris?
Either or is fine.
Which do you prefer?
Christopher.
Okay, Christopher. All right. So I that's what I've always been calling you. Then dawned on me, doink. I never asked. So I think that people believe that, or many people believe that the term nonpartisan means that you are not allowed to have an opinion, or you're not allowed to be part of a party, or you're not allowed to have a political disposition or political tendencies, and that would be 100% false. What it actually means is you are not allowed to put or nobody, there will be no Republican or Democrat designation on the ballot. But it doesn't mean you can't crow to the world that you are conservative or you are liberal or whatever else you are. So in Livingston County, being predominantly conservative, this nonpartisan is lately being challenged because I think a lot of the conservatives, at least in our county, are just sick of voting in the nonpartisan world from people saying, no, I don't take a side. And then they get out there and they vote like, it's obvious where they vote. So we're paying attention. We agreed to start paying attention. So we're going to be looking at, we're looking harder at school boards. We sort of started looking at that, and we've seen the problems when you don't look at that, and I think we've seen the problems when you don't look at judges too. So we're starting to look at judges. I think the next rounds of city councils are next. We're tired of being in debt all the time because we didn't know which way. Do you vote liberally or do you vote conservatively? And it works both ways. If a liberal wants to vote for somebody that aligns with them, they ought to know who aligns with them. So I feel like this is something we need to tackle. So we're working on it. We're going to let you know when we know a candidate is conservative, and we're going to help them. So, Christopher, what's your next steps? You got to get signatures, correct?
That's correct. Yep, got to get a minimum of 600 signatures just to get on the ballot.
Okay.
So that's
that's taking some time for you, huh?
Yeah, that's
All
where
right.
we're currently at, going around to as many events as possible, introducing myself as much as possible, and really it's been a lot of fun so far, getting to meet and have some great conversations with people on a day-to-day basis, and seeing really what are the issues that people are seeing in their day-to-day lives, whether in the courts or outside of the courts. So that's there's some value to making judges go and get those signatures.
I know I've talked about this. I've said this before, but being an elected official, whether it's a judge or a state legislator or anything, it isn't for the weak of heart, faint of heart. It's work, and you've got to be able to have a work ethic, because you don't get to just say, nah, I don't feel like doing this today. So you have to do it. And so I think that the signature process, the campaigns are not easy either. And I think all that, it's kind of the hammer that shatters the glass, also hardens the steel kind of situation, where it shows you who's got it, who's willing to put in the time, who's willing to stand up and speak in front of people and say, vote for me, here's why. And it's funny too, because I remember for those of us who've been here a while, Representative Hank Vopel, who is probably one of the most humble men you've ever met, even though he's wildly intelligent. He was a great state rep and great sense of humor and stuff, but he never jammed things down your throat. He was very humble. And I remember him telling me that at the very beginning of his race, that it was hard for him. He always kind of thought politicians were narcissists because everything they started off with, I. And he said he just had a rough time with that because, he doesn't, see himself that way. And unfortunately, he's correct. I'm not saying they're all narcissists, but I'm saying they sound like it because in order to get elected, you have to start off with the I's, the I, me. So it is rugged, but it's a lot of work, and you need to be able to charge up and meet people and make sure you get them on their side right away. You don't have much of a time. So you need to run for the right reasons, but you need to put in the time. You need to get the signatures. You need to knock the doors. You need to do the mailings. You need to go ask people for money. But if you can't do those things, right, you shouldn't be judge. Yeah. So either that, or you can do like our Longsworth did, and that was get the governor to appoint you. So, well, we'll see. Like I said, if this continues, then she's going to have to do all those things next time because we're going to run somebody against her. So, anyway, anything else you want everybody to know about you?
I think we've covered it for this evening, Deb. Unless you got some other questions.
Do you want to put out your? Oh, here we go. We have. MB Metzmaker, I don't know who that is. As someone who works directly with Mr. Candela, Livingston County can't go wrong with him. He's humble, kind, professional, and has one of the hardest work ethics I've seen in a long time. Thank you, little pink goat. Okay.
Thank you for that comment.
All right,
good. That.
All right. Yes. I'm not picking on you. I just don't, without a name, it's really hard to really get personal here.
She's not wrong. It does take a lot of work to run for office, and but if you're going to earn the trust of the people and serve the people, you got to be willing to work for it to earn that trust.
That is amen to that. So, do you have a website or anything we can direct people to?
I do, Deb. Thank you for reminding me of that. We have our website out there. It's candelaforjudge.com.
Spell that.
CANDELA forjudge.com.
Is it the number 4 or FOR?
FOR. Yep.
Okay, judge.com.
And email is info@candelaforjudge.com, so you can send emails to that, and they'll come right to me and my committee, and we'll answer the questions you guys have.
Well, we got more questions, so you were this close. Welcome to the Right Side Podcast, Christopher. This is from Carolyn Henry. She's our prosecutor. You may know that I'm a big supporter of your boss, Doug Lloyd. That's a good question, Carolyn. Thank you. What have you learned from him? Prosecutor Lloyd, that will take you to the bench.
Well, that's a tough question because I've learned so much from Doug in the years that I've worked for him. It's really been a pleasure working for Doug because he is really a champion for victims and victims' rights, and that's one of the most valuable things that I've learned from Doug is that when you're standing up for what's right, you have to make your decision and do it without fear or favor. And I think that's a skill that I intend to bring to the bench when I'm applying the law and making the right ruling, and not being concerned about fear of repercussions because somebody doesn't like the way I rule, because the law requires you to rule in a certain way.
Terrific. Well, you thought you were getting out of here, but no, here they all come. All right, so now we have our vice chair of our commission here. Please tell us about a case where you protected defendants' rights. If you need a minute to think about it, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think we do that on a lot of cases, but I can think back to a couple cases where I've had attorneys reach out to me and say, hey, I'm looking at this transcript, I'm reviewing it for post-conviction issues. And I see that this was missed in the plea, or this error happened, And the first thing I do is I go and I confirm what they're saying, and if they're right, they're right, and that has to be brought back to the court. So when there's an error in a process, there's you have to step up and own that, and correct it to make sure that everybody's rights are being protected.
Terrific. All right, Laura Wilkerson, how do you plan to handle efficiency with giving cases the time they deserve? That's a good question, Laura. Thank you.
Yeah, so courtroom efficiency is incredibly important, and I think that really comes down to planning your docket well and having good scheduling with your docket. If you load up a whole lot of motions on a motion day, more than what you can reasonably get to, then you're going to end up having to rush through those or adjourn them out. So I think you really have to schedule your cases accordingly, making sure that you're familiar with the facts of your cases, making sure that you know what the case is about so that you have an understanding of how long this case is going to take. And oftentimes your attorneys and your parties in front of you can chime in on that and tell you, we're going to have this many witnesses, we're going to need this much time, and they know the case better than anybody. But being prepared and knowing what's on your docket and understanding those cases really makes a big difference in running an efficient courtroom.
Perfect. Thanks, Laura. We have our Livingston County Republican Party Vice Chair, Bill Reiber, said thank you for attending our LCRP meeting last week. That was good for you to show up and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And Commissioner Frank Sample, thanks for introducing yourself at this week's Livingston County's Board of Commissioners meeting. Well, you're making the rounds here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for introducing. Thank you for showing up. And what's the last thing I'm going to say to you? Thanks for coming. So, thanks, Frank. Here we go. If you have worked for and learned from Doug Lloyd, you're in a good in my book, as I am a big supporter as Mr. Lloyd as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Mark is our IT's Mark. Mark's from Wayne County, and he is. I keep teasing him. He's exactly 50% of the Republican Party out there. But Mark is usually my first guest on. So when he doesn't show up till 9, I get mad at him. So, anyways, this has been a great. Oh, here we go. What are the reading stories with you? What are the qualifications for a conservative? I don't think there are qualifications. Are you thinking about characteristics maybe? What are the characteristics of a conservative judge?
Yeah, so I think all judges have, they have to be qualified to sit on the bench, know the law, understand the law, the court rules, the procedures and the precedent. But I think as far as characteristics go, in my opinion, it's really bringing your judicial philosophy to the bench of, really having that judicial restraint. I think is a important characteristic that we see.
I think we talked about one earlier about not legislating from the bench.
Yes,
that's a serious conservative battle cry, I guess, in the judicial world.
Yeah, and I think you look at things like Micah 6:8 from the Old Testament. It says, "Walk humbly with God." Go out and do justice and love kindness, and I think those are important qualities for a judge, to go out and do justice, apply the laws written, and love kindness. Appreciate the fact that people can be rehabilitated and that they can turn things around.
Okay.
And be humble, and that the litigants in your courtroom really need to be respected and given the opportunity to be heard.
Well, and conservatives, I mean, as a whole, tend to believe in less government, less regulations, help people help themselves versus, giveaways and handouts. So helping people help themselves, the non-legislating from the bench, and we had a discussion about that earlier, about just applying the law as opposed to as opposed to putting your own spin on it or your own ideology. So that would be kind of the characteristics of a conservative judge. So what are any clubs or associations you put your spare time into? Well, there's yes, because we may vote for you for that reason.
Well,
some do.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, generally speaking, I involved in the bar associations, Eaton County Bar Association, Ingham County Bar Association, and Livingston County Bar Association. I sit on the board of my homeowners association, so that's always an exciting endeavor.
Oh boy, been there, done that.
I'm pretty heavily involved in conservation and the sportsman's type stuff like that.
Okay.
I work closely with the DNR over in Eaton County. I handle all of our DNR cases.
Okay.
So I love working with our conservation officers and preserving our our state's nature. Really.
Okay.
It's there for all of us to enjoy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Curtis, you asked that question 1,100 times now. As far as eliminating the one-man grand jury and reinstating the citizen-led county grand jury, I want that's a question that does not belong on a judicial candidate, but I do have Christina Light coming on, and Christina Light's going to talk about judges in general, and she will address that one, I promise. So hold on to that question until I have until it's relevant to the matter at hand. So anyway, okay, well, unless we have any other questions coming up, I don't see any. I think this is a good time. Christopher, I can't thank you enough for coming on and introducing yourself to everybody. I think you have a good temperament, and I think that you'll do a good job. So so people can did you type that email too?
I had to type it.
Okay, there we go. So we have, this is where you reach out for you're going to type the email? Okay. Or did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, all right. Tyler over here handles this for us. So CandelaForJudge.com is where you can find out more about Christopher and take a look at his qualifications and is there a link to email you on that?
Yep, the email will be right on there. There's a link to it.
Okay.
It's of course info@CandelaForJudge.com.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you knew. Okay.
And definitely encourage you guys to check into the website frequently, because as we get going here and keep meeting new people, we're going to be certainly updating that website and adding a lot of information to it.
Right. So here's the email for him, info@CandelaForJudge.com, and yeah, you can reach out to him, and this is a good place to send endorsements or sign locations. Do you have any kind of donate mechanism already?
So we're in the process of getting that set up.
Oh yeah, you can't do that really to get your signatures in. Hold the money. Okay.
Yeah, judges can't.
That's right.
They can't fundraise until after the 15th.
Okay, so hold on to that. He's got to get his stuff done. So okay, well, watch for more on. We'll update with Christopher on this campaign as he goes along. So watch for that. But other than that, I think we're good. I do want to just make a couple mentions before we go. Just sit through my stuff here for a minute.
That's all right.
Everybody mark your calendars for Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo. I said it right this time. I've been saying Mardi Gras for a month, and I don't know why I do that. Cinco de Mayo is, although Tyler says Cinco de Mayo would be okay with him too. Cinco de Mayo, May the 5th. That will be our Lincoln Day. We will be once again at the Cross W, the wonderful barn of the two most incredible people, Sally and Jim Witkowski. They're once again going to host us there for our Lincoln Day, and we're going to have because it's Cinco de Mayo, it would be silly to have Irish food. So we thought we'd do the great big Mexican spread. We'll do tacos and burritos and chili and various meats and beans and we do a whole bunch of Mexican stuff. So it's going to be great. I am thrilled to announce that we have asked Michelle Blondeel, if she will once again do her fabulous charcuterie boards. I'll tell you, that woman is talented as it comes to that. So she's going to do charcuterie. This event's chair is Joni Econom. And so she's got all kinds of ideas about what we're going to do. We're going to try and figure out some adult piñatas, and we'll figure out some little dances, kind of like the line dances. We might still do those line dances. So what if it's Southern? Line dances could be Texan. That's close to Mexico, so we'll go that. So we'll do our line dances. We'll just have some fun. We will invite candidates, and you'll be able to hear them speak. Who's able to come. So it'll be terrific. I mean, we had, if you remember back to our Reagan Day Western wear, we're going for that. We're going for that level of fun. People are still talking about that event. So that was terrific. So we're going to do that, kind of something like that again, only with a Mexican theme. So we want you to get your sombreros and your bright color dresses, ladies, and your bright color shirts, gentlemen, and we'll have some things and processes. And also, because I actually reduced myself to begging, Mary Beth Patricus, I've learned to say that right, Patricus, I've been saying it wrong all this time. Mary Beth Patricus is also taking on, once again, our bucket drawing. She did such a great time. When she said she wasn't sure, I told her if she didn't do it, that I was going to hold a funeral for this event because we would all mourn it. But she's going to do it, and this time our secretary, Rochelle Huntsman, is going to help. So get ready for the two of them approaching you, or you can approach them or approach me or whatever with a basket. Those bucket drawings really were fun. We will not draw all 150 of them one at a time. This next time we'll draw like the top 3 and post the rest of them, post the numbers on the sheet so you can go up and get it yourself. But just so it doesn't drag out for 45 minutes like last time. But I mean, there were some great prizes, so we want to do that again. So she and Mary Beth and Michelle are working together on that. So we're doing that. 18th, here at the Victory Center, we have Secretary of State candidate Anthony Ferlini, Attorney General candidate Doug Lloyd, and gubernatorial candidate Mike Cox coming here for a meet and greet from 6 to 8. We'll have mild refreshments. I'm told there's going to be a lot of people here, so it'll be in and out. It won't be a meal where you're sitting down all night. But come on in, meet the candidates, hear them speak. But you'll be able to mingle with them and talk to them directly. It won't just be a panel or anything. They will be here to meet you. So come on in and meet them. And then day after, on the 19th, right again here again, that's going to mean some serious quick mopping for me. we're going to have gubernatorial candidate Tom Leonard and Secretary of State candidate Amanda Love here for another meet and greet. So back-to-back meet and greets. So next Wednesday and Thursday, don't plan anything, at least before 8 or after, not before 8 or after 6. Come on in here, stop in, meet them. It's our responsibility to meet the candidates that we're going to be expected to vote for. So those two events. Tomorrow, backing up a little bit, tomorrow I have a training here we've got several candidates that have reached out and want to take this training. So I've got candidate trainings here tomorrow. Again, if you are interested, if you're a Republican and you're interested, no, got to go back to the last one. Right here. Email me here and I'll give you the details, but 5:30 to 8:30 tomorrow here at the Victory Center. The 26th is our convention, our county convention. So I'm also happy. I want a big shout out, thank you to Candy Hovarder. I can't do that right. Hovarder, Candy Hovarder, she's a candidate for clerk in Green Oak Township. She's a current trustee running for clerk. She has agreed to help me with a big project we've decided to take on, and it's called SWAG. So we we had a lady show up that I want to thank Vance Patrick from Oakland County who turned me on to his Lori, his swag lady, and she drove her trailer here, and Candy and I stood in that trailer out there for an hour and a half. Okay, we'll take 5 of these, 4 of these, 2 of these. We have an entire Victory Center. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to clean that up before the training tomorrow. We have an entire Victory Center full of hats, hoodies, and hats, hoodies, and t-shirts. Lots of t-shirts. Lots and lots and lots of t-shirts. So we're going to have those for sale at the I think the first one we're going to have that for sale is at the well, maybe if I can get them organized enough, maybe we'll have some out for the meet and greets next week. But for sure on the 26th at the convention we'll have them. So anyway, I think that's it. Do we have anything more going on? Okay, we had our Republican breakfast this morning. We took up every table they had, plus every chair that was available, and 2 booths. We had that many people, so it was a great breakfast. So I encourage you, second Tuesday of the month, to watch our Facebook for that. We have what's the other thing? Oh, our right out the window, it's my age. The 4th Thursday. We have the 4th Thursday of the month. We have our dinners. This month, that stinky old state party, picked our convention date on the 4th Thursday. So no dinner this month. So we'll have to wait till next month. But you should make sure you come to those because they're fun too. We do have a great time. Now, right down here, become a member. If you haven't joined, become a member. Also, look around for whatever and subscribe. Please subscribe to this channel. So you'll I mean, it won't cost you anything. You'll get a little, I think you'll get a text saying, hey, Right Side's about to start. Then of course you're going to drop everything and come watch it because that's who you are. But anyway, join, so subscribe and then join our party because we do a lot of good with it. And your money helps fund candidates, conservative candidates in office. So remember that. That's exactly where that goes because all of us are unpaid volunteers. We don't take money for this. So anyway, that's all. Unless anybody has anything else, I think we're done. Thanks. Have a great week. And we'll see you. I'll see candidates here tomorrow and everybody else next Tuesday. See ya.